Okay, my loves. I know there are a lot of you that are out there that are really wondering, how do I even set boundaries anymore? Maybe you didn't grow up with great boundaries. Maybe boundaries weren't really modeled well for you, or maybe you were told that you cannot have boundaries. Maybe you're tired of being gaslighted in your relationships, and you're tired of feeling crazy all the time and guilty for trying to make a difference in your life. If this is you, then I want you to come schedule a call with me. Let's chat about the Unashamed Image Program. The Unashamed Image Program is geared towards you specifically. I am going to be helping you in our next upcoming session of the Unashamed Image. I am personally going to train you how to not feel crazy when someone is gaslighting you, how to be able to stand your ground, to keep your boundaries intact, and to also see through the bull crap. I am also going to be teaching you how to set really confident boundaries that you can really rely on. And I'm going to help you communicate them in a way that really makes sense. Basically, I'm going to help you live a life free of shame and on your terms. If you are ready and you are done feeling all the shame and guilt for trying to set boundaries, if you are not willing to live another moment the way you are right now and in somebody else's shadow, then this is the time to schedule that call with me. It's completely free, no pressure, just love, just support. Go to www.erinandersonthetraumacoach.com. Scroll down the page to where it says, Let's Chat About Working Together. Click on that button and it'll take you to my booking page. If you're ready to live the unashamed life, schedule that call. Let's get you in the Unashamed Image Program, my loves. From my heart to your heart. Bye. Welcome to the other side of the struggle. This is a podcast where we talk about trauma, how to heal it, and then how to take it and use it to unlock your mission and your potential, and to use it to live your very best dream life. When you're dealing with betrayal trauma, it can be hard to know how to heal it, how to stop the pain, and to know what your next steps are to take in your own life. And these are the questions that we try to answer here. Trauma has the ability to rob us of our joy and identity, which is why it's so miserable to experience. But with the right tools and with the right mindset, we can totally reclaim that joy and even use this trauma to strengthen ourselves, so that way trauma does not knock us off of our joy again. Living your dream life should be a non-negotiable, but trauma tends to try to negotiate that with you. And even though trauma is not something that we will completely ever be free of in our life, the pain is negotiable. This is why I created Erin Anderson Betrayal Trauma Coaching and this podcast, is because I want my listeners, I want my clients to live, truly live free from the prison that trauma can put you in. I want you to live on the other side of the struggle. Okay, I want you to stop what you're doing right now for just a minute, and I really want you to hear me out. I want you to go right now to erinanderson.kartra.com/page/heart of gold. There you are going to find a free meditation just for you from me. This meditation is amazing. Let me tell you a little bit about what it's going to give you. Okay? Number one, it's going to help boost your confidence. If you are dealing with trauma, then you are most likely dealing with a confidence issue as well. And it's something that you are really, really wanting back. Number two, it is going to help you find security in your situations in your life because it's going to help you gain a sense of self-love and some self-trust. The third thing this is going to give you is an ability to escape the trauma that you're experiencing right now, this very minute, and help you find peace and joy and love and a deep appreciation for you and your experiences. This is going to really help you reconnect with yourself. So that is very, very, very important when you are dealing with healing from trauma. So again, I'm going to tell you what that website is that you need to go to. erinanderson.kartra, KARTRA.com/page/heart of gold. Capital HEARTOF, capital GOLD. Go check out this meditation. Please claim it for yourself because it is 100% a gift from me to you to help you heal right now from trauma. All my love. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of The Other Side of the Struggle. Oh my gosh, you guys, I am so excited to have you here with me today because this is going to be just another one of those like mwah episodes, like just so awesome and so good. And I was actually just telling my fabulous guest how I love how much the Lord is directing this work and this podcast because Bronwen is not only one of my friends, but she's just so wise. And like when I was wondering who to ask to come in and be my guest speaker for this episode, it was just like a sync. This is Bronwen. You need Bronwen. Come in, Bronwen. And so I am going to introduce you guys to Bronwen. She is the CEO of the Shaoli Hope Center. Is that right? Did I get that name right?
Yes, Shaoli Center for Healing.
Center for Healing. Awesome. And I love following Bronwen. She has so many like just amazing insights and just so many good, yummy things. And I also love her faith and how she talks about healing in so many of her posts. And as a friend, we get to sit here and chat back and forth about how awesome healing is and the Lord behind it all. And so I want to introduce you guys to Bronwen. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited. This is going to be a fun chat.
Oh, it so is. Like, oh, I'm so excited. Because we are also talking about treating you like the ideal you. Last week, my loves, we talked about the ideal self and we went through a little bit of a meditation about how you can start to open up to the ideal self, how you can start opening your mind to envisioning your next highest self, your next purpose, your greater good. And today, I really, really want to talk about how to support that, like how to get the foundation underneath you so that way you can build this whole ideal self house. Because it's one thing to see it, because I believe like the Lord has given us so many gifts that have like unlimited abilities to create, like our mind is one of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if we see things in our mind, we are far more likely and far more able to use our other creative purposes and gifts to be able to actually start to create that thing. And so if we are looking to up level and if we're looking to create that next thing, I think that treating yourself like you are already ideal is so key. And like starting to do the things that the ideal would already do. You know what I mean? What are your
Mm-hmm.
thoughts on this, Bronwen? I know you've got like some
I have
crazy
thoughts
wisdom.
for sure.
Wisdom. Let's go
Well,
with wisdom.
wisdom, I'll take it. I actually like to call this, you call this the ideal self. I call it the actual self in my work. This is how I came to it for myself. There was a time that I kind of fell into this kind of shaming misconception that I see a lot of people do when they think of their ideal self. It's
Yes.
somebody out in the future, right? It's somebody they
Yes.
have to become. And I used to be like, that's intimidating. I can't be that. It's perfectionism, all this stuff, right? And
Yes.
then one day there's a story to go with this, and it was all about, I was like, I need to learn how to forgive someone. And this is too painful, but God took me straight into getting to know myself and meeting me. And when I met me, I found out that there was the injury that was in my body and just a result of my experience and that perspective and all the subconscious stuff that wasn't me. And then there was me, this actual me, this wise, gentle, good at holding space for myself version of me that is me. I
Mm-hmm.
had to I had to learn to say it. That's me. The other is my injury. The other is the experience of this life that I get to redefine and learn to receive awesomeness from, because this whole experience is about coming, right?
Yes.
About receiving and becoming one. And so, that's how I see it. This is the actual me, and the actual me is super nurturing.
Yes.
And right,
Oh my gosh, yes.
yeah. And I hold on to this anchor. We were talking about anchors before we started today. I hold on to this anchor that I was me, actual me was before I put on this body and started having this experience. And before I got here, you can't trick God.
No.
I became one with him to earn this body, right?
Yes.
I won this body, right? We all
Yes.
did. And so I I think of that in terms of like the same way that we get to become one with God now with our body, with God, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got to have that experience with our spirit in the past. And because of that oneness, my highest self is super holy and awesome and connected with God. And I have that connection with him. So as I nurture that connection with my body, with that part of me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm treating myself so good because I'm not shaming myself. I'm holding space. My injury gets
Yes.
to say everything it needs to say. But I'm like, oh, you know how you hold space for somebody else and it's like validating, and you don't go, you're not supposed to feel that way. I do that for myself, right? And I feel like that's really how to treat myself. I love what you're saying, like how to treat yourself like your ideal you, how to treat me like my actual me is to recognize that my injury isn't me. It does,
Yes.
it's me.
Yes. And I talk about this as the victim
Hmm.
mentality, right? Because
Hmm.
I totally get what you're saying. I mean, when I was going through my trauma, and I like 28 years worth of trauma, extreme trauma.
Hmm.
Like, okay, so that's clarified. I had learned that there was value in the victim mentality or that injured self, right?
Yeah.
Because if I came out as the victim, it did cause people to like back off,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Not
Hmm.
permanently, but it
Right.
did cause them to temporarily back off. And so I had learned that there was some value there. But like you're saying, it was almost kind of like I never let that wound heal.
Hmm.
And it caused so much sorrow and so much distress and so much shame, uncertainty, and unsafety, or whatever that word is. But like it was a very scarce mentality, right? And like I love what you're saying here about the fact that you're already the ideal.
Hmm.
You're already the actual self. There's a
Hmm.
scripture that actually backs this up. And when God says, "Be ye therefore perfect," he's not saying, "Don't make any mistakes."
Nope.
No, he's not saying that. He says, "Remember who you are.
Hmm.
Remember that
Perfect
you're
means
already there."
complete.
Yes. And think about this. Like, think about this for a second. I have 6 kids. I love them all. I have a 15-year-old son who is just like a joy to be
Hmm.
around, light of my life. I love this kid. I can totally tease him and he teases me right back. Like we just have a fantastic relationship. And I'm so grateful for this kid and our relationship. But he's not like he doesn't have perfect grades. Trying to get him to do homework is a struggle,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But I look at him and I never think to myself he's not perfect.
Right.
And I think that a piece of that healing, not even a think, like I know a piece of that healing comes from aligning yourself with that view that if this is what God thinks about me,
That's true. Yes. Then it
then
is.
then it must be true. I must already be there. And so it's no longer about like I can't make any mistakes. I can't like, let's like shut yourself into a box and into a room. It's more like let me experience life and understand who I am. It gives you total space to be able to fulfill your mission and purpose.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I do. I have a physical counterpart for this analogy, if you want to hear that.
I'd love to.
I used to, when I first got started in personal development about 7 years ago, I had slimmed down a bunch and I was showing it. I was accountable on social media, and a bunch of people said, please show me how. And so I started doing that. And for 3 years, I taught slim down, but through emotional release and, discipline, habits,
Hmm.
honoring yourself, honoring your choices. And this is how I see the body. This is me, and this
Ooh,
is my body, right?
okay, I'm gonna pause you for a second because I am like ready to start taking notes and I'm super excited about this because I love my body. I am super grateful for my body, but it is struggling right now to like it is one of my struggles right now, to be honest. And so like I just want to like give me all your wisdom. Go ahead, have at
Okay,
it.
it's really simple. Well, and it comes back to the non-health things in your body are
Hmm.
not your body.
Mm.
They're the things to heal from.
Hmm.
They're the things to overcome. So at the point when I was, I went from a size 16 to a size 2. And when I was working through that, I was holding the image of my body, my healthy body, in my mind, and I could tell what wasn't my body and what was. And I came to really understand these extra stores that my body had put on for me because I put too many calories in my mouth, and that's what your body does, right?
Hmm.
And it works great. It said, okay, you're giving this to me, I'll put it here, right?
Hmm.
There's other things involved too, because there's all this emotional stuff, but I'm not going to go
Right.
too deeply into that right now. For the analogy, it's like, what's my body and what isn't my body? And I came to realize that, and right now I'm working on, because I had a gut health crisis and I wasn't digesting and things happened with my body and I gained
That's where
some
I'm at
weight.
right now. That is actually right
Yeah.
where I'm at right now. So
I have a good solution,
continue.
but that's beyond the
Continue.
scope of this. Well, it's not really beyond the scope because it goes to taking care of yourself.
Yeah, well, see,
But
that's my next ideal self. Like I've been actually considering this. Like, I love where I'm at spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and I actually do love my physical, like I truly do.
Yeah.
But I just know that for me to be able to step further into my mission and purpose,
Mhm.
if I have more energy and I'm not feeling
Yes.
sluggish, it makes so much of a difference. And so, like, I see this ideal
Hmm.
self
This
again.
ideal body to go with her
Yes,
to self-worth
yes,
goes to
yes,
completion. Yes.
yes,
Yes.
yes,
All the philosophy. Yeah.
yes, yes.
That's a long conversation though to
It
read
is.
through all of
It
that.
it totally is. And I will say, like, for my listeners right now, I do want to add into this piece that the idea that your body is somehow broken or wrong or gross or
It's working
please
perfectly.
no. Yes, it is communicating
Hmm.
to you because it loves you.
Hmm.
And like I am so proud of this body right now, just the way it is. I want to help it be at its best self because that's its goal for me.
That's its goal. Yes. Thank you for
Yes.
saying it that way. I love that. Yeah. Okay. So for as far as this analogy goes, that I got to be really responsible with how I looked at myself in the mirror
Hmm.
because I could tell, and now that I've experienced it, I especially can do this, right? I can tell that this stuff that's layered on the outside is connected to something that I get to work through. I can feel that. My actual self knows that. My body is actually being super cooperative by showing me it's here. So
Mm.
it's telling me that there's something for me to work through, and I get to go work through it.
Oh my gosh. You brought so much up for me. Okay, so
I could get people really mad at me for not looking about that way, but yeah.
no, but it's true. I mean, this is just honest to gosh truth.
Hmm.
And I've okay, so an example kind of what you're talking about because I totally get this. So like my word for this year is abundance
Hmm.
and being abundant and learning more about abundance and leaning into this abundance and I'm learning like how it connects into just trusting your mission and purpose. Like I'm learning so many cool things by from the Lord and through scriptures and through, fabulous people like you and other fabulous we'll go with that fabulous people on like that get to come on my podcast and my friends and like the people I surround myself with. This idea, like the thing that keeps coming up for me is like this idea of trusting my decisions
Hmm.
a bit more. And I know like whenever I am like, ooh, do I really want that? Ooh, do I really want that? Like I feel it in my gut.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? And then
Hmm.
the longer I take time to sit there and make a decision on that,
Hmm.
it's like harder and harder and harder on my stomach. Like it kind of tightens it up even more. And so I've been paying attention to this. And I've been thinking to myself, as I learn to lean into making decisions, because this is something that perfect, that ideal self is very good at,
Hmm.
is making decisions and being okay. Like if that's a mistake and if that was if there could have been a better decision, you'll learn through making this one decision. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
so I've been really, I've been being taught. I have been being, I am really having
You
trouble
have
finding my
been in
words.
tutelage.
In tutelage, yes. Yes, that is exact. Thank you. Like, oh, I think I might have to like go untangle my tongue.
You're
But
perfect.
thank you. Yes, I am. But like trusting the decisions,
Yeah.
trusting yourself even more and leaning into that trust. Like you can create so much more because you're not spending the time on, ooh, do I do this or do I don't? Do I not? Do I not?
Hmm.
It gives you back time to create.
Mhm. And consider this when if you out there listening are somebody who has a hard time making a decision, consider that as somebody who earned this body, if you want to embrace that and that philosophy. If you earned this body and through becoming one with God, you got to come and get this body. So actual you is like this,
Yes,
God.
that connection. You are.
If you learn how to toggle between your highest self and your body so that you recognize who's talking,
Mm-hmm.
who's communicating, then those decisions with God are so much easier to hold on to. And you can feel, and this is like another layer of treating yourself like your ideal self, because if you let your body lead you around by the nose, which it will do that if you let it, because it's going like this, right?
Yes.
Because it's your instrument. It wants you to wield it,
Yes.
and you wield it through your decisions.
Yes.
So if you're making decisions and you land, and then here's like the I don't want to moments, or your body leading you around by the nose, right? Oh, I know I have this desire to do this. I asked for it. I got my next step, and my body goes, yeah, I don't feel like it.
So, how do you feel about boundaries? It's a legitimate question. A lot of people come to me really struggling with this concept. They often feel guilty for setting boundaries, or they're not sure about even what a boundary is. They've heard the term, set the boundary, things like that, but that's really confusing for them because it's not something that's well taught in our society nowadays, right? They know that boundaries are really important to having healthy, constructive, supportive, and wonderful relationships, but why? And oftentimes they also know that they feel like their boundaries are being violated, but they can't quite pinpoint what the boundary is that's being violated. That's why I've created the Clarifying and Creating Your Boundaries free PDF. You can find out what your boundaries are, how to tune in to what the boundary needs to be, and how to effectively create and communicate your boundary so that way you stay in this place that respects you, respects the other person, but also gives you the confidence in your boundaries so that way you stop being gaslighted, disrespected, and unseen. Having your boundaries really clear gives you a voice and also helps the other person stay in accountability with themselves. So that's not a role that you have to take on anymore. So if you are ready to really have clear boundaries, to really understand what your role is in the boundary, and to give yourself some safety and some protection against people that might try to gaslight you or are just being disrespectful, go grab my Creating and Clarifying Your Boundary PDF at erinandersonthetraumacoach.com. And while you're there, let's schedule a call with me. Come have a chat with me so that way I can really, really help you master this particular skill, creating boundaries, clarifying the boundary, communicating that boundary, and so that way I can also help you have relationships that show up to support you, cherish you, and love you. Ah,
We
yes,
all do
I
it.
know this.
We,
I know this.
because our bodies are going, I haven't been able to trust you before
Mm-hmm.
because you didn't wield me powerfully before. So, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we get to teach our body to trust us. And we do that by listening to it and doing something about it.
Yes.
And when I say
And
listen to the body, I don't mean listen to the body like it's the Holy Ghost. I mean listen to the body for the new question.
yes, like what is it that you need?
Yeah.
What is it you're trying to tell me? You
Hmm.
know? What
Hmm.
is it that would give you the most fuel? And like I've actually, so this is really interesting. Like the way that this conversation has gone, and I actually am totally like leaning into this and trusting this because this is something that a lot of men and women like seriously create more trauma over
Oh yeah.
is the way that their body looks and the body image and things like that. And I don't believe in shaming anyone that's too thin, too fat, like or I don't want to say fat. That's a very,
There's not,
very
well,
negative connotation, but
it's the
it's
part of their experience. It's not,
yeah,
yeah.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a part of their experience. But like to be healthy and whole is a thing. It's something.
It's a goal to get.
It is. It
Yeah.
totally is. And that is a beautiful thing. That is true,
Mhm.
you know? But for me personally, like I'm learning about like leaning into this physical energy. It's teaching me sacrifice and
Yeah.
how hard sometimes sacrifice can be.
Tell me what
Like,
your definition of sacrifice is. That I want to give clarity to this before we go into that too much.
so for me, like, okay, so I'm just showing this. I have this fabulous green smoothie, okay, and it's full
Mhm.
of nutrition and fruit and good sugars and glucose and stuff to fuel my body. This lasts me so long. Like I feel good on it. And then like if I'm constantly grabbing fruit or maybe a little bit of vegetable here and there or a little
Mhm.
bit of honey, my body does very well on that. But I love ice cream.
Mhm.
I love it, especially cookie dough ice cream. Like it is so hard to say no to cookie dough ice cream. But if I eat it, my tongue loves it and my stomach does
Hate
not.
it. I
It
was just about to ask.
hates it. It hates it and I seriously feel such a drain in energy. I feel sick. I feel like and then like everything I wanted to do that night because I'm a very organized person, very plan oriented. I like having things like I like knowing what I'm doing. And so I have to literally just stop everything and go lay down.
Mhm.
For the rest of the night, I have to be done because I am feeling so ill.
Mhm. Okay,
And
I'm itching.
and then I know, and then I still like, but then like my teenage son goes and buys it for himself, and I'm like,
And then you have to lead with your highest self.
yes. And then I have to live with my highest self. I'm like, you don't. Like, I know you want this. I honor that you want this, but you don't want what happens after, you
Yeah.
know?
It's not
And
really pleasure. It's not
no,
really pleasure.
it's really not.
It's really not. Okay, I want to throw out the law of sacrifice is about trading up, not trading something that you want, right? Not trading
Yes.
something that's working for you,
I love that. Okay.
but it's about
Yes.
trading up for the thing that you have been asking for, the desire of your heart that you ask for the next level. It's
I
all about level
love
up.
that. It kind of it puts me in mind of that picture that circled around the internet where there's this little girl and she's hugging this teddy bear close,
That's a good one.
and she's like, "But I love it, God." And there's Jesus and he's got like this gigantic teddy bear right behind him that she can't see yet, and he says, "Just trust me.
Mhm.
If you give that to me, just trust me. I promise I'm trading this up, right?" And
Mhm.
it's so true because I know like right now all I've had is like last night I had a sweet potato for dinner and this morning I'm doing this smoothie and it doesn't seem like a lot of food and a lot of calories, but my body's happy.
It's high nutrients. Yeah.
Yes, and it's so happy and I have the energy and I feel good and I feel at peace and more one with my ideal self, my highest self,
Yes.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Because you feel like, I don't know, when I lately I've been on a juice fast, the modified
I've
juice
done
fast.
that. I've done
And
that.
I feel so light. Like
Hmm.
I feel like there's space opened up physically in my body, and it just feels lighter and better.
Yes.
And that's what we're
Yes.
looking for, right?
Yes. Isn't
For our
that
body.
neat how
Yeah.
that works? And more
It's the
scriptural
trade up.
reference. Yes, more scriptural reference. Like you think about Daniel, at the very beginning of his story when he was taken into Babylon and what they fed him versus what they fed the Babylonian boys.
Mhm.
Like it's
And they
like
had energy and clarity.
yes.
Mhm.
And their skin glowed and they were so wise. And so, it's really interesting that the Lord, because I've been talking with the Lord about this kind of stuff, and he's been teaching me about like the colors of different foods
Mhm.
right now and like how like if you're looking to heal, and I'm learning more about like the how healing actually is that trade up, that
Yeah.
understanding who you are to really, really step into this ideal self and treating yourself like the ideal self. He's been teaching me about foods with the color red, blue, purple, a deep green, and gold. All of them are majesty colors.
Oh, that's cool.
Isn't that cool? And so it's like literally
High
eating
frequency.
high frequency and majesty.
Hmm. Royalty.
Isn't that the coolest thing ever? And so I've been like really like leaning into this more, and even though like I'm not like losing any weight or anything like that, it's not about that right now. It's about giving my body exactly what it needs to gain wisdom and majesty,
And then it learns to trust you.
and then it learns to trust.
And then it starts to release
Mm-hmm.
the protection.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And
Beautiful.
it's awesome. It is so cool. Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, I love wisdom. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah, my mind is on coming to me and be healed. That's what keeps coming to my mind. Like if you're gonna treat yourself as your ideal self and your body as your ideal instrument of your ideal self, then your body gets like some pretty special treatment.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Too, this is another thing that's coming to me, the idea that let me grab some words for this. Might have left me. It'll come back.
Okay, that works. We'll go with that. I will say was coming to my mind
Yeah,
here
yeah.
is this idea of the ideal self is actually also stepping, I think, further into trusting Christ
Yeah.
in a big way. Because here's the thing. If he got on the cross, if he sacrificed his own life for us to take upon our sins, to give us this space
Mhm.
to be our ideal self, then what is it that he actually sees? What is it about us that he actually sees?
Our actual self.
Yes,
He knows
right?
that. Yeah, he knows us. We know each other.
And yeah, exactly.
His friend.
Exactly. Yes, and we are. He's
Mhm.
so excited. Anytime like I will say this, and I'm not going to get into like the details of it, not on my podcast because it's a very, very highly, both of these, I should say, are very, very highly spiritual experiences, but I've seen him twice.
Mhm.
I have actually seen Christ twice. And the excitement and the love
Mhm.
and like him just picking me up and twirling me around and just the laughter that came. This is how I knew it was him because I recognized his laugh. And the laughter and everything, that doesn't just happen. We think that he loves us just because he's good, which is true, but he loves us because we're good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he
You
loves us
know?
because we're good. Not
Yes.
because not because we're just behaving ourselves,
No.
but because we are. We exist this way. Our
Yes.
high self is. Yeah.
Yes. Exactly. Exactly. And so I feel like the more we strive for that self-development, I mean, whether it be physical, mental, emotional, spiritual,
Mhm.
it is aligning yourself with your actual ideal perfect self,
Yeah.
right?
I feel like I need to bring in like if somebody it needs to hear this tied in. If you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling depressed, the key to unlock the door to this metaphysical stuff that we're talking about, this emotional stuff, is your physical body. And just don't eat that donut and go have an apple. And I know it sounds trite, but your body is asking for something. It's saying, I'm sad with what you're feeding me. I need something more. And there is a physical counterpart for every
Yes.
spiritual thing, every emotional thing. So consider taking it from both angles.
Yes. You know, actually, science has been, just to back up what you're saying, science has been showing lately that the more healthy glucose, and this is the stuff you get from honey, fruits, you actually get it from leafy greens and vegetables as well. So the stuff that's basically been grown
Mhm,
by God for you,
mhm.
that the more you feed your body with these kinds of things, it's actually
Oh,
causing the receptors for depression
to reduce.
to reduce
Yeah.
major. And like people are feeling that joy and feeling that happiness and feeling that creator
Mhm,
come out.
mhm.
It's true. Like they're actually
Yes,
showing there's scientific
there's a
studies.
physical proof. Yeah, I love
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
I love that. Also, water, electrolytes. You can
Yes.
feel so depressed if you're dehydrated.
Yes.
So, yeah, love on your body that way too.
Yes. Lots and lots of water. I agree with you there. That's actually something I need to work on. And I'll say that. And and that's the cool thing about this. I will say this. It is okay to say, "Ooh, that is something I need to do better on." That is something like to be aware
No shame.
of, no shame. No. To like be aware of the things that you need to do differently. That's a good thing. I mean, I would think about Nephi also in the Book of Mormon
Mm-hmm.
and how he's like, I am so flawed.
He's all picking on himself.
Yes. And we're all like, whoa, Nephi, like, sheesh.
You're okay.
You're good. You've made like this really, you've got like the beginning of this really cool book, right?
Mhm.
And but it's okay to be aware of these things because it's kind of like a chiropractic adjustment. You feel in your back like, oh, there's something right there that needs to be adjusted.
Mhm.
And as you keep getting adjusted and aligned,
Mhm.
it gives you the opportunity to go out and do more with less pain. And
Yes.
life is just like that. It's just simple adjustments and keeping up with those adjustments.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can go out and experience life with less pain.
Mhm. Less of all the kinds of pain.
Hmm.
I remembered what I wanted to say, and it was related to the depression thing. So I think we got that covered.
Okay.
There's the door that unlocks the peace. Everything connects to your body. So many people are out there trying to just handle their emotional stuff, and they're not handling the physical stuff that's feeding an emotional energy, a low emotional energy. Um, I want to bring in this analogy too. I think you were part of a conversation in one of my posts a couple of weeks ago, and I'm pretty sure you were anyway, where somebody commented and she said, you got to fill your cup with love. If your cup is filled with love that you're holding in front of you, and I bump into you with some truth,
Hmm.
and you're like, oh, I'm not doing that. it's going to spill love on yourself, right? But if you have a cup full of shame and I bump into you with some truth and it spills on you and you're shaming yourself, that hurts, right? Did we
Mm.
ever have you talked about shame on your podcast?
My whole program is the Unashamed program.
Love. Okay.
Yes.
So let's let go of the shame. It's like death frequency.
It
But
is. Yeah, and that,
yeah,
like that no hope kind of a thing. It's that no hope. It's that the adversary with his thumb over your head,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. Yep. Let's not shame ourselves. If
Mm-mm.
I figured this out for my kid once. If I roll over my toe with my chair, it doesn't mean I'm now a person with a chair attached to my toe forever. It means I'm going to have some pain, which
Mm-hmm.
is equal to guilt, right? That helps me realize I need to take that chair off my toe and let my toe be okay.
Yes. Yes.
Our mistakes, our injuries, our opportunities, they don't define us.
No.
But
No.
if we realize that, then we start treating ourselves like our ideal self.
Yes.
We start activating our actual self.
And asking yourself, like, what is it that God really thinks about you?
Mhm.
And are you thinking the same things?
Mhm.
You know, like it's so key
Mhm.
because we're like everybody says we're here to be tested.
Oh,
And the connotation of test, right? The connotation of test, like, eh? I do have a paper. No,
I
I do
get
have
that.
paper, I do have pencil, but nothing's on that, you know? Like,
I get that that
no,
works for some people, but
no. Like, you're actually here to be experienced.
Mhm.
You're here to explore. You're here to remember who you are.
Mhm.
You're here to become
bring
something.
bring your body up to speed.
Yeah. To
Yeah.
bring every piece of you up to speed. And
Mhm.
your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual energies are all connected,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Once you bring one up, they all have to follow.
Right.
They
There's
all
nothing
do.
disconnected. Nothing is
No,
disconnected.
no, they all have to follow at some point. I do feel like I will say, like, to get my mental, emotional, and spiritual energies up was a little bit easier than my physical, but I also feel like, there's a lot of generational stuff in there
Mhm.
too that's kind of, landed in me.
Mhm.
But it's more like with what you've said, that when we really truly nourish and nurture ourselves and we put in things that are going to give us a return
Mhm.
in that investment,
Mhm.
everything. And again, I'm learning this with this abundance piece is that everything is about a return on your investment. Like the smoothie, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
That's an investment. That is a abundance piece
Mhm.
that God has given me that I'm going to invest.
Mhm. And I love that you said investment because guess what? It's a faith step.
It
And
is.
there's no faith without risk.
No.
You have to risk.
Yes.
It doesn't exist if you're not risking. You're only
You
doing the first two steps.
but I will say this much that when you do risk with God, it's amazing how very little like the consequence from that risk sticks.
Mm. Hmm.
Like
Well, it usually comes with a reward.
or a miracle, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Yes. You know, I gotta say this, like, I'm thinking about like my husband and the years that we went through, dealing with his pornography addiction, and it does do something to the brain. My husband is like the sweetest human, very supportive, fabulous, fabulous man. I love this guy. But when he was on full addict mode, he was actually borderline abusive,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
And I say that not as a judgment towards
Well,
him
that's what
before. Like,
shame does.
yes, this is what
It's what shame
exactly.
does.
And
Yeah.
if you listen to the words that came out of his mouth, it was all shame and
Hmm.
all this self-hate and all this, I'm the worst person of, like, I'm the worst human, you know? But and it caused a lot of like resentment and anger and anxiety and all these negative emotions inside of me. But what I've learned, and this is getting us into this forgiveness piece that we were talking about,
Hmm.
is that for me to gain what it is I truly wanted, I had to give it. So if I wanted kind words from
Hmm.
him, even when it was hard, I had to give him kind words.
Such a paradox.
Isn't it?
I love everything paradoxical about truth. It makes me happy. Like a
Yeah.
puzzle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say this, like sometimes the kindest thing you can do for a human, especially someone who is physically abusive and your life is in danger, that is the point where I say, yeah, that's a relationship you need to get out of because your physical body is in danger.
Yeah.
And not only that, that is the kindest thing you can do for yourself and that person
Hmm. You don't
at
have to
that moment.
trust. You don't have to trust just because you forgive. That's a whole different mechanism
Yes.
altogether. There's
Yes.
complete different mechanics for
It
trust.
is. It is. Forgiveness is that piece that's it's not for the keeping, it's the forgiving. So you were talking about this forgiveness piece that you love to do.
Hmm.
And
I have a question.
I love forgiveness. Like everything I've learned about it, it's like so beautiful. Like what a fabulous concept. So I'm curious, like I'm like ready to just like devour what it is you've got here, this forgiveness piece.
Today? Yay. Okay, let's go. Well, first, I'm going to nutshell this. I have a 21-day forgiveness thing that's free that I just give away because I want everybody to have it. Because when you learn to access, like I said, toggling back and forth between your highest self and your injury, you learn to hold space. And if you can do that, you can do all of your healing. So it's like the foundational piece. And I just want everybody to know how to do this the way that I know how to do this. And often my perspective kind of shakes things up for people. So I'm going to just give you a nutshell. It goes like this. First, you get paper. We're going to journal because we're literally intentionally moving the pain out of this physical form onto this new physical form.
Mm-hmm. Or
And if you do it with pure intent, go ahead.
letters to God. Letters to God. This is what I teach, is the letters to God piece. Anyway, continue.
This is probably not a letter to God because we probably would hold
Oh,
back. Yeah, hang in there. I'll tell you. Okay,
okay,
so
okay, cool.
first we get the journal and we dump the pain. Then we give it to God after we're done dumping it all out. But that sounded like that wasn't quite enough. Okay, so when we okay, so get the journal and then kind of get to know the voice of your highest self. Like really look at your life. Notice those moments when you're like, I feel awesome. Like I just made the best decision ever. That's most likely coming from the space of your highest self.
Mm-hmm.
And then recognize the injury and how the injury sounds. Usually the injury sounds like complaining or picking on yourself, judging someone else, feeling kind of just blech. Like there's a thing there, right? We call
Judging
it a
yourself,
trigger.
the
Hmm?
shame,
All those
judging
things.
self, shame, all those things. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
I get
language.
it.
It's language in your thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And often we'll go, I'm not supposed to feel like that. And we'll put it right here in our body and hold it
Mm-hmm.
there. And our body's trying to say, hey, I need to express. Okay. And now think of it like this. I grew up on a farm, so I'm going to use milking a cow. Hopefully
Mm-hmm.
everybody is fine with that and nobody's grossed out. Okay. When we go out to, when you're on a farm and you have a cow, the cow cries in the morning and at night, just like a new mommy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because it needs to be relieved, it needs to have the milk expressed out so it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't hurt anymore. Is the milk bad for being there, making a little bit of pain? No, it's not bad for being there. And in fact, when you get it expressed, it can become something wonderful. It can become your message, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can become something that you utilize to help somebody else heal. So the expression of this onto the paper, the pain of it onto the paper, takes it out of your body into a new physical counterpart, and it gives you space to allow it to become something good. That's really important perspective when you're doing this. And then I have everybody write in block letters of some kind when they're writing as their injury. And I have you write in cursive when you're writing as your highest self. And there's something that happens in your right and left brain
That's
physically,
interesting. Okay, I've
right?
not heard of this. Okay.
And anyway, it differentiates the voice so that you learn to toggle. And the more you do this, I did this every day for 20 minutes for like 2 years before I was able to be so practiced at it that I could express it energetically without the paper, but still sometimes I use it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It helps, right? But yeah, I learned to come out of my pain story to observe my pain story and hear my pain story. And I got to write everything, all the things that I thought I was not supposed to feel and say and do and all that, right? I put it all out of me onto the paper. And my highest self would lead the conversation with like a mentor, with questions, like wise questions, not shaming questions. If you start asking a question to yourself and it looks like, are you sure you should feel that way? If that's not your highest self talking anymore, just saying.
Nope.
But I open the conversation with, hey, Bronwen, I can tell that you're hurting. Would you like to tell me about it? And sometimes the conversation would start at, no, shut up. I don't want to say anything. And then it would all just come out. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. Saying all the meanest things that you don't think you're supposed to ever feel, but that are there and need to be expressed out,
Yes.
right?
To come
Something
out.
happened to inspire these feelings. It's okay that something happened to inspire these feelings. But
Yes.
then the highest self says, good job. Good job saying all those swear words that you never say. You know what I mean?
Oh, frickin'
Good job blaming that person for everything that you think they did wrong. Do you feel better? Yeah, actually, thanks for listening so well. Like, and you don't have to explain anything
Mm,
because you were there.
yes.
You saw it all. So your body learns to
Yes.
trust you. It learns to trust you to hear it out. This is
Yes.
huge, by the way.
Yes, it is.
When
It is.
like I'm just singing all from head to toe right now. You get to help your body feel safe with you. And it feels the safest with you when you hold space for it and don't let it be the leader of you.
Yes.
It wants to be wielded. It wants to see how it, like what it can do. And it
Yes.
can't figure it out by itself because it's doing this, right?
Yes. Yeah,
So,
well, and I want to, for those of you listening, like Bronwyn is literally looking when she's saying it's doing this, it's
oh,
like a little infant, like a tiny little baby, and like it has no
wailing.
control over any piece of itself. And you literally have to, as you grow from infant to toddler to child to teen to adult, you gain new aspects, new controls, new things
Mhm,
like that over yourself.
mhm,
And so what she's saying here is totally true. And, I love this idea of you need to check in because if you're not listening to yourself, how can you expect anyone else to do it?
mhm.
You know what I mean? And like
Mhm.
that can be kind of harsh for some people to hear, but I will tell you, anybody that is healed from trauma has some piece of listening to themselves and really hearing themselves without judgment.
Absolutely.
That's such a
Absolutely.
huge piece.
Yeah, if you're going to go do this, I'm going to give you this little warning, okay? End your session from the space of your highest self
Hmm.
so that you don't accidentally go through your day in your injury without realizing that you were doing that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Always, like, always end your day with your highest self, without judgment, without censure, without, because, you know, I think the day of judgment, we
Mhm.
hear about that in Christian communities, right? Isn't God going, it's not him that's going to be judging us. It's those of us that haven't released the judgment yet.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And it doesn't mean that we live, all we get to do whatever we want to, eat, drink, and be merry. It's not that. It's finding joy. Because I will tell you, judgment doesn't bring joy, and neither does the eat, drink, and be merry.
Mhm.
Realizing that you have things you need to work on gives you compassion
Mhm.
for yourself, for
Mhm.
others, and even Christ. Like, yes, he's this perfect being because he understood he was perfect,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah,
Wow,
that's really good.
right?
Understand you're perfect.
Yes,
Wow. Please understand you're perfect.
you already are.
You're already enough. You're already good. Like you said, you're already good.
You're already there. You're already there.
Just meet yourself.
It's just this, it's just this keeping it on on the same path. It's just keeping it there, which is sometimes a little difficult, and sometimes you're learning new things.
It's wobbly here.
Yeah,
Let's just
it's
face
a
it.
little wobbly. It's a little wobbly, but that's okay, right? But love yourself at 250 pounds. Love yourself at 125 pounds. Love yourself wherever you're at because that is the most healthy thing,
Mhm.
mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, that you can do. And that is the thing that brings up this ideal you. And I will say this, my letters to God, I do have to interject this, were totally like
The dump.
the dump. Yeah.
See, that's showing what a good relationship you have with God. Some people don't. Some people think they have to put on the face for God.
Yeah.
You
And you
don't have to.
don't. You don't. You totally don't.
No.
You get to be in a perfect space while you can't hold the perfect together.
Mhm.
And I will say, I have sworn at God. I have called him a liar. I have done everything under the sun, you know, to probably damage, like anybody else would probably be like, I'm done with you. But that's not the way God is. He doesn't hold a a space of, oh, I'm looking for a certain word, where love is sometimes there, if it like if it
Conditional.
yeah, thank you. Conditional. That's the word I'm looking for. Which should, like,
You're
here we go. I'm
perfect.
just shooting out. I'm perfect. I'm perfect. Anyway, yeah, I'm just sitting there like, okay, that's an easy word to remember. But okay, anyway. I get to laugh at myself now for that little blip there, but you know, it's not a conditional love.
Mhm.
And that's the piece that separates us,
Mhm.
is when we love ourselves unconditionally. That's when we align with God because he loves us unconditionally.
Mhm.
we have this constant state of forgiveness and then also this constant state of joy because we are constantly holding space for it. God did not care that I came to him with my out of control tiger that had just had its tail stepped on attitude. He didn't care.
God wants to see you.
Yes. He
Take it to him. He wants to see
and
that.
he yeah, you're right. Though he just was happy I was coming to him. And that's the piece. We are perfect in him.
Mm.
He's already given us that blanket statement. Now we
Mhm.
get to just go out and create and explore and do.
Mhm.
And through these pains, and this has been true for me, and I feel like this is true for you. This has been true for every guest I've ever had on this podcast, and a lot of my friends that have gone through healing and these deep, deep personal growths. This piece that feels painful, like you said, not only becomes your message, which is your mission and purpose.
Mhm.
And if you I look at this like I teach deep-seated healing in a way, and I'm just gonna, rub my fingernails on my shirt here for a second, but I have not seen people that teach betrayal trauma teach it the way I do.
Mhm.
I've seen people that teach, like mission, purpose, higher self, like this is all the same thing. It is,
Mhm.
but a lot of people kind of lean into this whole blaming the other person.
Mhm.
It's all his fault. I even saw a therapist and a coach that said that pornography is like if your husband has pornography, that's a deal breaker. You need to divorce him. And it's like, no, that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes it is, it's not necessarily,
Right.
you know? But stepping into creator and your mission and purpose is healing. The
Mhm.
fact that I went through lots and lots and lots of intense trauma as a kid, as a married woman, trauma never really truly leaves. It, it keeps coming up sometimes because we all need to learn new things, right? But it is my mission and purpose. It is my message now. I had to experience that, and I had to experience that level of pain so that way I could understand women. And now, through my coaching and the things that I've done, I'm seeing a lot of my clients stand up and say, I want to coach betrayal trauma.
That's awesome. I love hearing that.
Isn't that cool? And I look at like all of the gifts that God has given me, like intense intuition. Like I've got a really high intuition. And this is interesting too. Like I talk about healing my gut, and yet my gut is constantly like anytime my gut talks to me, it's always right.
Mhm.
It's really interesting. So that's one of my gifts. I have a talent for writing. I have a talent for singing. I have a talent for creating music, not
Mhm.
just like playing the piano, but also like actually like bringing music up and out of my soul and onto the keyboard. A talent for baking, a talent for drawing, a talent for speaking. Like I have a talent for all of these things, and every single one of them is weaved into this mission and purpose at some point.
Mhm.
We have been given everything we need to actually detect our mission and purpose. We tend to want to lean into this like the talent side of it a bit more.
Mhm.
But when I realized that the quote unquote trials that I had been given were actually also a piece of this. I stopped resisting them and I started leaning into them because I knew that there would be a grand jewel, a grand pearl, that pearl of great price at the very end.
Hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I love, like, oh my gosh, this was such a good conversation. There's a reason I was excited for this. Total reason. Do you have any final thoughts, Bronwyn?
Oh, let's see if I can wrap it up. I have a lot more. I always have to rein myself in because there's so much stuff. So
Oh,
good.
we'll have you back.
Final thoughts today about treating yourself like your actual self is, you know, I think just go ahead and take your moments. Most of us have a hard time allowing ourselves to have a moment to just have a chat with yourself every day.
Yeah.
You can do it. Just turn the TV off, put your phone down. Stop thinking about what you have to do and just say how you doing today.
I want to add in to, like, I know for me that those quiet moments are hard because I've got 6 kids,
Mhm.
right? And they're constantly like, mom, 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 mom. And I always say, oh my gosh, somebody's got to borrow my brain, right? But they will be fine for 5 and 10 minutes
Mhm.
without me having to constantly know every little move they're making and every little thing they're doing.
Yeah.
If I go in and I shut my door for a second, even if they make a giant mess when I come back out, which happens often, it's okay because you do need that quiet time.
Hmm. No, and if it seems impossible, like it did for me, it really did for me.
Oh yeah.
I asked God what to do, and He said, start getting up at 5.
Hmm.
And that was rough. I was not a 5 a.m. person at the time, but now I am.
Yep.
7 years later. And
Yeah,
it's
same here.
perfect. I get everything I need early in the morning before
There
I'm.
is it is a magic hour. I did 4 a.m.
Oh,
for a long time. And then I started teaching Chinese kids and was starting to get up at 2:30 a.m. And so that kind of ended up not being there right now because my body is like, girl,
help.
you need sleep.
Yes.
You need sleep. I
Basic
promise
human needs.
everything else will be fine. You need
Mhm.
sleep right now. Everything else will be fine. Right.
Yeah.
And it's again like one of those things I get to lean into, but I know like when I was getting up at 4 a.m. and just connecting with God and connecting with those four main energies, I did a little
Mhm.
bit of exercise, something spiritual, something mental, and
Mhm.
some emotional work. It was magic.
Yeah, it does something.
It
It
does.
it's worth having that discipline.
Hmm.
It has an awesome payoff.
Hmm.
And you find out when you stop how awesome that payoff was.
Yes. Yes,
Don't
you
stop.
are
I shouldn't have
correct.
manifested that. You find out if you have a day off just how awesome.
Yes. Very true. Bronwyn, gosh, girl, you are just a jewel and so fun. You are totally coming back on
Yay.
this the show. I really appreciate your wisdom, your insight, and also our friendship. Like, thank you so much.
Mm.
And if anybody wants to come and join you or connect with you, how do they do that?
Go to shaolihopecourses.newzenler.com. Actually, I'm going to send you to the easier place. Just click on the library button. Shaolihope.com has a little
Okay.
menu where you can go. Just go grab the forgiveness technique, the 21-day redefine and forgive experience that I've got in there. It's at the top. It's free. That would make me happy if you connect with me that way. And then tell me how it goes. I
Awesome.
hear only good.
And then I will also put like the link to that in the
Thank
description
you.
below as well. So Thank you so much for coming back. Thank you so much for coming, and then I can't wait till you come back again. Thank you. This was
Mhm.
such a beautiful conversation. All
Yay, I'm glad
right.
you had me. I love you.
I love you too. Next week, we are talking about what is love and how we define love nowadays and what it truly is and how we can actually anchor ourselves into that. So be waiting for that for next week, my loves. And I will see you next week. Have a great one. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, fabulous listener. I have a question for you. How done with trauma are you? Are you ready to uplevel your life and start creating the dreams that you thought were out of your reach? Are you ready to be free of the choices of other people? Are you ready to start living a life for yourself and creating the dreams that you want? And are you ready to start attracting relationships that show up to support those dreams? Are you also ready to create an amazing and deep love and trust in yourself and your decisions? If this is an absolute yes, then I want to invite you to come and join my 7-day Unashamed Chalk Talk. In this 7-day course, we are going to be going over each one of the 7 pillars for living an unashamed and completely self-trustful life. You will have some very quick, very concise, but powerful assignments to do every day. Plus, you also get access to me live for 7 days. You are going to get to learn how to set the goals that you want to achieve in your life completely unashamed, and also how to figure out what it is that's out of alignment in your life and stopping you from achieving those goals. Then we're going to get into how to get your brain to actually listen to the things that you want and start working on creating them. And also how to give yourself permission to truly love and care for yourself in an amazingly, fabulously fun way. And also how to regain the confidence and love that you deserve to give yourself, despite what anyone else thinks, says, or does about you. Now I can almost hear you say, okay, well, that sounds great, but how much does it cost? That is also an exciting part of this. It's only $97. Ah! How awesome is that? For only $97, you can start creating the changes you want. There's literally no reason for you to not click on the link in the description below and get started. Come join me today in the Unashamed. Hey guys, thanks so much for hanging out with me today and listening in on this podcasting episode. Don't forget to tune in next week. It's gonna